I'm a big dog, who you wanna? Diamonds on my wrist and on my...
Yo, what's going on? And welcome into the huddle. Today, as you can see, I'm royalty. You see me? I got my sister's tiara on. I'm royalty because I went perfect last week in our NFL Conference Championship.
Bro, you went 2 for 2. I went 4 for 4.
Hey, but listen here. Did I ever take anything away from you during that episode? I was like, okay.
You're right. No, you're right.
Right? And then what? And guess what happens? This man Ari is talking reckless. He's like, that's a bad take. Ooh. Hayden, you said something like, what'd you say? You were like, oh, you're taking a losing quarterback, blah, blah, blah. Regardless.
I definitely did not call Tom Brady a losing quarterback.
Hayden did.
Okay, I definitely did not say that. And
what happened? Of course, the GOAT pulled through.
Just get into the episode, dude.
No comment for me on this one.
Going crazy. All right. So now we're just gonna, in this episode, just review on what we thought from the past round of the playoffs. And so who wants to start off with the best performance?
I'll take this. I have Travis Kelce, dude. He had 13 catches on only 15 total targets. So 2 passes that were thrown his way weren't caught by him. That's it. The other 13 were caught for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. He made catches on third down in the red zone that were very key to them winning the game. And that one play where Pat Mahomes does a little underhand thing to Kelce, I know it's more Mahomes than Kelce, but that works every time. They've done it like 5 times a season. They score every single time or get the first down every single time. And at this point, he's the best tight end in football. No debate. George Kittle's still out there, I know, but he's the best tight end in football. He had one of the best seasons. He's the best tight end. And if it's not for quarterbacks almost always getting a Super Bowl MVP, he would be getting the MVP, but it'll probably be quarterbacks. It always is. But yeah, it was by far Kelce this week.
Yeah, that's why I suggested that he be number 1 on Conor's list last week. But for the second week in a row, I'm going to say the Chiefs defense had the most impactful performance. You look at their red zone defense this week, they held the Bills to 2 very close field goals, which were really confusing to me about why Sean McDermott did that. But they held them in goal-to-go situations. They picked off Josh Allen in the red zone. And then they had that play where they sacked him for 30 yards and made Tyler Bass kick a long field goal at the end. And the 2 touchdowns that the Bills scored in the game, one of them was off the McCole Hardman fumble where they got the ball at the 3-yard line of the Chiefs, and they just had one play to score. And the second one was in garbage time when the Chiefs were up 23 points. They really held the Bills' offense, which was deemed to be by some the best offense or the hottest offense in the league. They held them in check. So
I don't know about all that.
I don't know about the hottest,
but people were saying that. People were calling them the hottest offense in the league.
That is an interesting take. I'm not going to agree with that one.
I didn't say it. I'm not saying I said it.
Yeah, I definitely would not say that either.
Yeah, the Chiefs are still around. But for my best performance, I'm going to give it from last week. I'm going to give it to myself. No, I'm just playing.
I was like, dude, no way.
I'm just playing. I'm giving it to the Bucs D. Like I said last week, I said that the Bucs D is going to cause hazards for Aaron Rodgers, and they did. I can't recall exactly how many 3-and-outs they forced, but it was a lot in a row. I think they had up to 3 in a row and caused more than that in the game. A lot of those were in the fourth quarter. So their defense throughout the fourth quarter it's too much, causing the best quarterback in the league this season to throw a pick. And what was the stat, Ari, that he hasn't thrown a pick in how many games or something like that?
I don't know.
You said it last time. All right.
No, he threw 6 interceptions all season, including the one this past week.
And 3 of them were against the Bucs.
Yeah. Conor, I have a question for you, though.
Yeah.
So you said the Bucs defense was the best performer.
Yeah.
How are you going to pick a defense when they let the quarterback throw 346 yards and 3 touchdowns?
They it
I
was
mean,
quarterback. The quarterback was Aaron Rodgers.
yes.
What did they do? What did he do in the fourth quarter?
Get taken off the field by the coach.
I think that's a good way to segue into our next topic about who we think is the most to blame for the Packers' loss. Obviously, as we all saw, Matt LaFleur decides to kick a field goal with just over 2 minutes left, and they're down 8 to make it a 5-point game. I'm sure everyone in the world thought that was a pretty pointless decision. But I want to piggyback on what Conor said about the Bucs defense. The most to blame for the Packers losing is a coach not named Matt LaFleur. It's Todd Bowles, because his defensive game plan allowed the Bucs to sack Aaron Rodgers 5 times in some key situations, and they held Aaron Rodgers and that Packers offense to 7 total points off the 3 Brady turnovers in the second half. And they took advantage of the Packers beat up O-line in the way that I thought the Rams were going to, and Todd Bowles just figured out how to actually execute that. And I mean, Shaq Barrett had one hell of a game, and that's the reason, like, them stifling the Packers offense in that fourth quarter, even in goal to go situations like the one where that caused Matt LaFleur to have that decision. That's the reason that the Packers lost.
I'm actually taking someone that was an on-the-field performer. Kevin King, man. Oh, my God. He was responsible for 3 touchdowns. Number 1, he got mossed by Mike Evans. It's Mike Evans, sure, I'll let him have that one. Number 2, got torched by Scotty Miller in the final seconds of the half. The one thing you don't do is let a guy run past you. It's exactly what he did. And number 3, if you look at the picture of Leonard Fournette crossing the goal line, who is right under Leonard Fournette? My guy, Kevin King. Could not make the tackle. What's up?
Did he also have that PI at the end of the game too?
I'm getting there. Yeah. Again, I will admit it was kind of a BS call because it was PI, but all game they were like letting him play, not calling them. But at the end of the day, it was pass interference, and it was in the single worst possible play he could have made the pass interference in. So 4 plays that one player made basically, or literally did, cost them the game. At the same time, I will take 20% of the blame off of him and put it on their defensive coordinator for keeping him in the game. After the first half, with letting Scotty Miller score that touchdown, get him out. Get him out. I mean, the one thing is a corner, no one behind you. What do you do? Let him behind him. It was unbelievable to me.
So I agree with both you guys. I mean, there's not much to disagree with there. But my guy for who's most to blame is going to have to be Matt LaFleur. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious that they should have gone for it. I also want to blame Aaron Rodgers a little bit because, I mean, how many consecutive losses was that in the NFL Conference Championship?
4, I think. Yeah.
4? Yeah. And, I mean, there's that on top of, I think you try to get some gain on that last play. I don't understand why he didn't run the ball. Why didn't he take off, at least get some yards so they're closer for that 4th down? I didn't personally understand that. I didn't understand Matt LaFleur's call to kick. Like, if you are down 8, you with under 2 minutes going against Tom Brady, who played bad the entire game. So I could give that as a reason. But
he just needed 1 first down and they won. Like, that's exactly. I'm with you. I don't understand this decision at all.
Yeah, but I wouldn't put it entirely on him, and I'm glad you mentioned Aaron Rodgers too, because on that exact drive where they had 1st and goal from the 8, the first play, he does my man AJ Dillon dirty by, in the RPO, he pulls it back and darts it at Alan Lazard, who's not even looking at him. So, I mean, if he hands that off, that's probably a 3 to 4 yard gain, getting him closer and then making it more likely for Matt LaFleur to say, all right, I feel comfortable going for it, only needing 4 yards instead of 8. And like you said, also, he definitely had a lot of room to take off in that third down play and possibly get to the end zone. So I think his decision making in the fourth quarter is also something to. I mean, both their decision making, LaFleur's and Aaron Rodgers, both something to that caused them to lose. But it's also the Bucs defense playing as well as they did.
Did you
See,
guys?
I'm with you. Here, Connor, you can go.
Did you guys see? I think it was Skip Bayless's tweet when he was.
No, it wasn't.
It was like everyone was after the game was like, "Thank you, Aaron." Blah blah blah. Like telling him like, "Thank you." Like all the Packers fans basically just trying to get him to stay. And
He's gonna stay. He's not leaving.
and so Skip decides to tweet, "Thank you, Aaron, for single-handedly like defeating the Packers and letting down Packer Nation for the 4th time in a row and all this stuff."
Jeez,
I mean,
that's crazy.
He's also delusional, but yeah.
he is delusional, but I actually have to agree for parts of that. I don't believe he deserves praise after that game. Yes, you played extremely well in the first 3 quarters of that game, but he did not control the game in the 4th quarter.
I'm actually gonna back my guy up right now. So if it was first, second, or third quarter or beginning of fourth quarter, yes, run the football because if it's 4th down, you're gonna kick it. But there was an interview with Aaron Rodgers. I think it was post game, something like that. He said, "I was under the impression that it was a 4 down, like a 4 down territory." So he thought that, okay, if I throw this, it's incomplete, it's fine. We have another go at it. It's Matt LaFleur's fault for not communicating to Aaron Rodgers. If we don't score or if we don't get yards, we are kicking the ball. We're kicking a field goal. So I think Kevin King is most to blame, but a close number 2 is Matt LaFleur, 100%. Aaron Rodgers, yes, he wasn't perfect, but he had a great game. And that one decision can go either way. But in that situation, I think, yes, he could have run the football, but I'm not docking him for not running the football.
Yeah, I mean, he had a great 3 quarters in my mind.
Yeah.
4th quarter, he made boneheaded decisions like the one Hayden pointed out. AJ Dillon had the highest yards per carry last week, like Hayden was talking about. Let's applaud Hayden for finally getting a take.
Still didn't use him enough.
I mean, I got one this week too. I just want to say. Actually, I was kind of close. Said Aaron Rodgers had 250 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no picks. He had 1 pick, but I got 2 out of 3, so whatever.
Almost as only good as he needs. But yeah, I just wanted to congratulate Hayden.
Yeah, AJ Dillon did have 5.7 yards per carry.
Yeah.
Which is very good.
Should we move on? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I brought this up earlier about the Bills kicking field goals, especially that one right before halftime and right after halftime, where they were in 4th and goal situations. And the question is, could they have been more aggressive? I think it's an obvious yes. I think you know who you're playing against in this game. The Chiefs are not just going to allow you to kick a field goal and not punish you by scoring a touchdown. We know that the only way to beat the Chiefs is in a shootout and a high-scoring game. Plus, they were down in the first instance that we saw. They were down 21-9 going into the half, and they were not getting the ball at halftime. To start the second half, they were not getting the ball. So, why would you kick a field goal if you're not going to get the ball back? I could understand it if you're going to get the ball back in the second half, but I don't understand his logic for kicking these goal-to-go field goals when the way to beat the Chiefs is score as many points as you can because your defense is not going to stop them.
I'm actually going to disagree with you there. Because in order to beat the Chiefs, you're right, you need points every drive. But that's the key. You need points every drive, not necessarily touchdowns. because I don't think you take the risk of having a drive with 0 points. You need at least 3 points every drive, preferably 7 or maybe 8, but at least 3. They should have been more aggressive on their play calling throughout the game, but I mean, they got points when they needed to. Obviously, it wasn't enough. Again, it's the Chiefs. They're a very hard team to beat. No one's really like blaming the Bills for losing this game because they're supposed to. But no, I do not think they should have been more aggressive in the red zone.
Yeah, I agree completely with Ari. I think they 100% should have been more aggressive in the play calling. In the red zone, at least in the one before half, I think 100% they should have kicked that field goal.
Yeah, no. Oh, I think they should have gone for it, but yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they were still down by 2 scores. It did nothing for them.
You still want to put points on the board. You take your points when.
Yeah, but they were down by 2 scores regardless.
I don't know. Personally, in Madden, I would have taken it. But yeah, I completely agree with Ari. I don't think they should have been more aggressive in the end zone, but they definitely should have been more aggressive with the play calling. Josh Allen still threw for almost 300 yards, but when you throw for 300 yards, you got to tag on more touchdowns than that to beat the Chiefs. And
Exactly. They had 2 opportunities in the goal-to-go situations to do that, and they kicked field goals both times.
I think the Bills' play needed to be better, not necessarily their decision-making in the red zone. I think it's more on the players and the coaches.
But the thing I disagree with the most in that Sean McDermott's reasoning for it was, I just wanted our guys to feel good about getting points.
Yeah.
So he went into it looking for moral victories because they were down 12 already against the best offense maybe this league's ever seen. And
I mean, but it's more like a confidence thing. Like, yes, we put on points, and then we think, yeah, we can score on these guys, so they go field goal, touchdown.
But in a playoff game, you want to go down swinging, right? It's the same thing with the Packers and Matt LaFleur. You want to go down swinging with your quarterback instead of getting 3 points and still being down 2 possessions, as you mentioned. And his decision making made it seem like they weren't ready to go down swinging. They were just there to, play. Like, just whatever happens. Like,
yeah. Honestly, from what you're saying, it seems like they wanted to just prove that they can hang with the Chiefs and not beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, I didn't hear that part of the interview.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah, it sounds weird to me. I don't know why you wouldn't be playing to win versus playing for.
I mean, it's the Chiefs. There's not much you can do to beat these guys. Technically they lost 2 games, but throw away week 17, whatever. They lost 1 game this season so far. Yep. It's insane.
All right, Ari, you wanna get into your top 5?
Let's do it. All right, so this is my top 5 candidates for Coach of the Year. I had about 8 guys that I was thinking to put on this list, and I'll mention the 3 that I didn't, and I'll tell you why. So out of the 3 guys, my honorable mentions, not in order, just listing them. I have Bruce Arians, Andy Reid, Mike Tomlin. Bruce Arians and Andy Reid, I didn't put them on because they both have an insane team. Coaching didn't really go much into that. It was just the players doing what they do. Mike Tomlin went 11-0, then he went 12-4, and then lost the first game of the playoffs. That's terrible. That cannot happen. All right, now my top 5. Number 5, Ron Rivera, coach of the Washington football team. He turned the entire culture of this team around. They won. Yes, the NFC East was terrible, but they won the NFC East. That's something. With a 7-9 record, not that good. Okay, but it's not like he had a great team to work with. The defense, yeah. Offense, not that good. He took control of the team. Said, Dan Snyder, get out of the way. This is my team. Bench Dwayne Haskins, put in some other guys, and they succeeded. Oh, again, he hired Jack Del Rio, who led one of the top defenses in the NFL. That was his decision to bring him in. And they have a very, very bright future ahead of them. Number 4, Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Green Bay Packers. led the team to a 13-3 record for the second straight year, led the team to the NFC Championship for the second straight year. One of the best offenses in the NFL this year. Number 3, Brian Flores. This Dolphins team was something else this year, and they're going to be something else for years to come. Granted, the Bills are in that division. You guys are giving me weird looks right now. Granted, the Bills are in that division, but it's going to be like this with them for a while, I think. I mean, they took almost a no-name team. They didn't have many superstars on that team to a 10-6 record. That's very good. They should have been a playoff team if the AFC wasn't so extremely loaded. And he installed an entire new identity to the Dolphins organization, a winning identity. Number 2, I have Sean McDermott, coach of the Buffalo Bills. They didn't have much of an improvement because they were good last year, but they went from 10-6 to 13-3. That's pretty good. They won the division for the first time since 1995. Granted, Tom Brady left. It still says something. Brought in Stephon Diggs, who let Josh Allen be an MVP candidate. That offense was very good. And they won a playoff game for the first time since 1995 as well. Number 1, right here, Kevin Stefanski, baby. I mean, I could say so much about there's not even a bias thing, even though I'm like wearing a brown shirt too. Doesn't matter. Kevin Stefanski did wonders for this team this year. This team was 0-16 in 2017. They were 11-5 this year, and they were the best team in the division. The Steelers were good in the beginning. They weren't even that good. They're okay. But they won the division because they started out so hot. The Ravens had a great running attack. That's it. The Browns were the best team in the AFC North. They also had a top 3 running attack in the NFL, and the offense was rolling under Kevin Stefanski. Made the playoffs for the first time since 2002. Won a playoff game for the first time since 1994. And they finally beat Big Brother in division in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they're now the team to beat in the AFC North. I mean, he just did wonders for this team. You guys have a lot to say, don't you?
Conor, you want to go first, or should I go first?
I mean, can you repeat your top 5? Just go 1 through 5 real quick.
Number 1, Kevin Stefanski, Sean McDermott, Brian Flores, Matt LaFleur, Ron Rivera.
Okay. So, Hayden, you want to go first?
Yeah, I have a bit to say. The only one I actually agree with placement-wise is Ron Rivera at 5. I think you're forgetting about. I mean, you mentioned Andy Reid. I think Andy Reid needs to be in the top 5. What he did he's still 14-2, and one of the losses with Chad Henne, and then he won a playoff game against Kevin Stefanski with Chad Henne in the second half.
I hear you. But
I'm not saying he's up there. I think he needs to be in the top 5. I also think you're forgetting about Sean McVay, what he did with the Rams team. I think it's overlooked because we just assume he's one of the better coaches in the league now, but Matt LaFleur could be replaced by him, in my opinion, even though Matt LaFleur beat him. But I think Sean McVay had Jared Goff to work with, and there's been he's just proven to be incapable. He's the weak link on that team, and they still managed to win a playoff game, in a way playoff game. I think he needs to be he needs to be considered in the top 5, and then I agree with the 1 and 2, but I think I would put McDermott over Stefanski for Coach of the Year, just because of how successful the Bills actually were this season. They were a Hail Mary away from being 14-2.
I mean, I hear you. I just think Andy Reid, that was the players, not the coaches. There was some coaching decisions that made a difference, but it was mostly just the players doing their thing. Sean McVay, the offense wasn't as good as we've seen. I mean, there was times where they looked good, but play action is not working for Jared Goff anymore. And the fact that they're still doing that, even though it's proven this season it's not working anymore, is why Sean McVay was not even considered for this.
I think you guys are forgetting about Mike Vrabel. Titans had a great year. I mean, they've had a couple great years in a row. I believe he's the 3rd best coach in the league, honestly. I'm not saying
this season, or
I'm not saying this season. I'm saying coaching wise, I think he's the 3rd best coach in the league. All 3 seasons.
Dude, what?
So Belichick and Reed are the only ones better than him.
So you're telling me he's better than who's your 1 and 2 then?
I said Belichick and Reed are the only coaches that are better than him, but I'm not putting him this season. I'm not saying this season he's at 3. I'm not saying this season he's at 3.
He's been a coach for like 3 years.
Yes. And what has he done to that Titans team?
Giving the ball to Derrick Henry.
All right, bro. We don't have time to talk. All right, but yeah. So I mean, I'm gonna switch around what you guys have a little bit. I mean, I'm gonna put Andy Reid in the top 5. I'm not saying that he deserves to be on this top 5 list for this season. I'm just saying.
I know. I'm disagreeing with what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I'm saying he deserves to be an honorable mention, though.
Could be.
Right.
I disagree, but I can see what you're saying.
All right. So at 5, I'm gonna continue to have Ron Rivera. At 4, I agree with Hayden. You got to put Sean McVay in here. I mean, youngest coach in the league, and he's already, in my opinion, one of the best coaches in the league. You see what he did with the Rams in the playoffs, as well as what he did all season in the playoffs. I think he's the only reason why they came up with that victory.
Real quick.
Yeah.
This is a regular season award.
I know.
I agree with you. He was wonders in the playoffs, but this is a regular season award.
We're not doing the NFL honors, bro. Like I'm just saying, like in total. I didn't know we were just counting in regular season.
Regardless, though, what he's been able to do with that Rams team this season, they've dealt with like new running backs coming in. They've dealt with Cooper Kupp being in and out of the lineup, like, and then obviously every team's had to deal with COVID. But what he did with Jared Goff this season, being able to manage a season going 10-6 with Jared Goff, who has just looked terrible.
He took them to a Super Bowl 2 years ago.
He's looked terrible. You can't deny it. It's more impressive than what Matt LaFleur does with Aaron Rodgers as quarterback.
No, I agree with that 100%. But going 26-6 in the course of 2 years and going to the NFC Championship 2 years in a row, that says something about the coach.
And Andy Reid's not on your list then?
Because look, you want to compare the Packers roster and the Chiefs roster?
I think they're not. I don't think they're that different. Other than, I mean, they're not that different.
So, okay. I would take on the entire Chiefs and Packers offense, I would take 2 players on the Packers. Not even that. I would take 1 player on the Packers over on the Chiefs. I would take Devontae Adams over Tyreek Hill, and that is it. Give me the entire rest of the Chiefs offense.
You're crazy.
You're taking McCole Hardman over Allen Lazard?
Yes. That means a speedster.
You're taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire over Aaron Jones? I don't think so.
I forgot about the running back position. 2 players. Aaron Jones over Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I mean, Conor, I'm interested in knowing who you had to finish out your list if you agreed with his top 3. Because we kind of cut you off.
I know, but I still said at 3 I got. Who did I have at 3? Who? What was I just saying?
I don't know. I was talking about Mike.
You said McVay was 4.
You said McVay was 4.
And then I had Belichick at 3.
This season?
Bro, what?
This season. Do you not see what he did with that Patriots team? Are you crazy?
No, he was 7-9.
With Cam Newton at quarterback.
Cam Newton's good. Stop the
Cam Newton's terrible.
Cam Newton's terrible.
But maybe we're used to Bill Belichick looking a different way. But the Patriots weren't – I don't think you heard a word about the Patriots all year.
Well, the only reason why they won 7 – or not 7. I'd say 4 of their victories were because of him. Were one-score games that he decided that he clutched up at the end and made the right calls.
Yeah, like running a speed option on the goal line versus the Seahawks
All right.
to lose the game.
That was terrible.
Yeah. And then I got
Give me your 2-1.
Stefanski at 2, and I got Andy Reid at 1. Man went 16-2 with only one real loss. I'm not counting week 17 because Mahomes.
I hear you, but it's the roster.
You can't go 16-2 with it just being the roster.
Not just, but like 80%. They're just lucky they have a great coach. Obviously, he's part of it, but he's not the coach of the year.
I mean, I can't put someone with one real loss all season not at 1. I don't care if his team is insane. He went, in my mind, 17-1.
But keep in mind, too, I'm also taking into account culture change, how he got his players playing comparative to other seasons, not just straight up record this year. Like I said with Stefanski, they were 0-16 in 2017, and they went to the divisional round of the playoffs this year and held their own versus the Chiefs. Granted, Mahomes got hurt, sure, but they held their own. They can't control that. They did what they could control, and they lost. I don't remember how much they lost by, but they covered the spread. Like they did what they were supposed to do, technically. So I'm also just because of the offense. I mean, like I've been saying to Hayden for a couple years now, give Baker a consistent play caller, and he's going to succeed. And that's what he's got going on. You got a good offensive coach, and he's succeeding.
Yeah, I have a lot of good things to say about Baker in a future episode. But
Love it.
As of right now, I believe this is it for this podcast. Thank you guys so much for clocking in. We'll see you guys next time on The Huddle.